Welcome back, everybody, and thank you for tuning into this week's episode here at Mobile Outdoor. Today, we will be doing some fossil hunting in one of my favorite spots from last year. This place holds a ton of different fossils as listed below. But there's a catch. Before the time runs out, I will be giving you guys an opportunity to find the fossil yourself. So, without further ado, can you find the fossil? So here is our first find of the day, and if I'm being honest, it doesn't look as good as I thought it would, but you can still tell that it's a gastropod. And as we zoom in closer, it does have some cool crystals on it, so that is a plus. I may or may not keep this yet, I'm not sure. Either way, I know we can find some better stuff, so let's get to it. Now, even with the evidence of trilobites, this piece right here is why I love hunting fossils in this spot, because it just has a ton of big chunky gastropod fragments. And those who know me know I have quite a few gastropod fragments in my collection because I just like the way they look. I even sometimes call them cashews, although this one doesn't really look like a cashew. Now this next piece is indeed a gastropod fragment, although it doesn't look as good as I thought it might when I initially saw it in the ground. I mean, as we flip it around, there's not even really anything on the other side. But there's better pieces out there, so let's get looking. Here we have a small piece of chalk limestone with two small crinoid fossils on the surface. And this is kind of the reason why I said it might be tricky, just because it doesn't carry the shape of a fossil per se. But these little guys look cool. They almost look like a pair of eyes. One thing I did want to point out is while I was editing this, I realized that I completely missed a really nice coral fossil, as you can see right here. This thing has to be at least the size of a quarter, and there's no telling what it would have looked like. So we'll definitely be on the lookout for that when we go back. Now, I was absolutely stoked when I came across this piece. This is definitely the best looking gastropod we found all day. And my favorite thing about finding gastropods here is if you look closely, you'll see that we have some Dolomite crystals along the surface, which I think gives the gastropod some really nice character. Looks like scales. This is a super small cephalopod fragment. Now normally I wouldn't keep a fossil like this, but at this location in particular, cephalopods are not that common. And when it comes to collecting fossils, I like to have examples of all the types of fossils I can find at each location. And if I find something better, we will go ahead and replace it with the better looking piece. Here we have another nice gastropod. Not nearly as neat as the first complete one we took a look at, but it still looks pretty awesome. As you can see, we have more of those Dolomite crystals I was talking about before, which are super neat. And then one thing I like about this rock is you can actually see some Dolomite crystals on the back of this rock as well. So that's just an added little feature. All in all, when you find a piece like this, it's a pretty good deal. As you can see here, we have another big and chunky gastropod fragment. Now, it does have a chip taken out of the surface, which is unfortunate, but what I like about this piece is you actually have fossilization on both sides. And we even have some calcite crystals on the edge of it. So that makes this piece pretty cool and definitely worth keeping. This was our only crinoid find of the day, which is kind of unusual for that place, but I'm not going to complain much because this thing is pretty cool. You can see we have the grooves and ridges on the edge of this face. And then on the other side, we don't really have any grooves and ridges, but we have some weird crystallization going on that I'm not quite sure how to explain yet. But it looks neat in its own right. And then as we take a look at the side, you can actually see that we have a ton of small discs that make up this piece. How many are there? I'm gonna try and count how many discs are here. So when I first saw this piece, I was super excited. I was like, this is gonna be a big one. But then when I picked it up, I was kind of disappointed. I ended up taking it back still just because I wanted to clean it up and make sure that it wasn't able to be prepped out. But I think I'll be returning this piece back to the wild next time I go. Although it does have a really cool surface to it. Here we have another really nice gastropod fossil. The same type of gastropod as the second one, in fact. And it appears we also have some Dolomite crystals on the surface, but they seem to be worn out. Pretty neat. Here we have another one of those chalk limestone rocks with some gastropod fossils on the surface. But this piece is rather significant because if you look closely to the right, you'll notice a Trilobite imprint, which officially marks our second Trilobite find ever, and also the second Trilobite find at this location. And even more so, when you take a closer look, you'll notice we even have some Dolomite or Calcite crystals growing there too. So that's super neat. Believe it or not, we found another Cephalopod fossil, which is kind of interesting because, like I said before, this is a location that doesn't usually provide cephalopods. So that's why we're keeping it. And as you look closer, this has again got those nice Dolomite crystals making up this fossil. So even though it doesn't look like much from far away, it still has some cool characteristics when you look closer. Last but not least, we have a nice gastropod fragment. Now this is definitely one of those fragments that look more like the cashews, like I was saying earlier. And I don't know, I just love collecting these things. As we take a closer look, you'll notice we have some Dendritic Crystals trying to show up, but it doesn't poke through because of the condition of the surface. So that's unfortunate. But this piece overall is still super neat. So that about does it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed this fossil hunt, and I hope you were able to find a few of those pieces before time ran out. If you did, be sure to let me know down in the comments on how you fared. If you want to see more detailed pictures of the pieces we found today, be sure to head over to my Instagram, where I will be posting all those pictures in the next couple of days. But until next time, stay safe and rock on.